I want to talk to you about Jo Haylen. We have Chris Minns standing behind her, saying she won't lose her job at this stage, but the rules need to change. Why does she need to be sacked?
Well, it's not a matter of changing the rules or the guidelines. This is clearly an abuse of taxpayer money. Jo Haylen has been presiding over industrial chaos in our public transport for 9 months now. Rose Jackson's been presiding over a mental health crisis, and at the same time, they think it's okay to use taxpayer funds for a jolly up in Newcastle or up in the Hunter Valley. It is clearly an abuse of taxpayer funds. It doesn't matter what the guidelines say. The Premier has admitted it's clearly inappropriate. Jo Haylen has admitted that it doesn't pass the pub test. And this is a test for Chris Minns. It's not just about Jo Haylen and Rose Jackson. Yeah. It's about Chris Minns and his leadership as well. And it is an indictment, an appalling indictment of Chris Minns' leadership and his standards if he doesn't sack these ministers.
Hang on, he said that he recognises that it's wrong. He's not going to defend the indefensible. Jo Haylen's paying back the money. I mean, this is not the first time a minister has done such thing. I've got a list here. Eleni Patinos in 2017, Don Harwin forcing his driver to wait 5.5 hours outside a Liberal Party pre-selection meeting. I mean, don't they deserve... They've recognised what they've done. Is it really a sacking offence?
Oh, it is a sacking offence here. I mean,
what's different about those other issues? Just the length of time? I mean, Don Harwin kept someone waiting for 5.5 hours. This driver did a 13-hour shift. Is it just the time issue?
No, well, it is an abuse of taxpayers' money, sure.
No, but so was 5.5 hours keeping a driver waiting.
That's part of... Well, look, I'm not going to call over the coals, but let's take this for an example. Barry O'Farrell resigned over a bottle of wine. There were pretty high standards in our government, and when things happened, people resigned.
Well, that was
Here,
ICAC.
You've got a Premier...
Do you think this should go before ICAC?
Well, no, I'm not suggesting that. She should go. She should resign, and if she won't resign, she should be sacked. This is about the standards the Premier is prepared to accept, and it's all very well tut-tutting and having hollow words. If he's not prepared to act, it's an indictment of his leadership. But instead what he proposes to do is to have a review of guidelines. I have lost count of how many reviews and inquiries this Premier has had. When there's a problem, he doesn't take action, he kicks it down the road for another inquiry. And why isn't he acting here? It's because he relies on Rose Jackson and Jo Haylen for his support in the Labor caucus. They're his key left-wing allies. They're part of his kitchen cabinet, and he's too scared to do the right thing and sack them.
Mr Speakman, I put it to you that these rules have been in place for quite some time. They weren't changed in government when ministers in the previous Liberal governments breached them. So what's wrong with changing the rules now? And if they're so bad, why didn't you change them?
Well, it's not a matter of changing the guidelines. There will be grey areas where maybe the guidelines need to be tightened up, but this is such an egregious case. It is clearly a sacking offence.
OK, but she didn't break the rules.
It's an affront to the taxpayer.
Change the rules. And then if anyone breaks them from here on in, then sack them.
Well, she broke the spirit of the rules. She broke the spirit of the rules. And both the Premier and her admit, at the end of the day, it's not the rules that matter. It's the public pub test. It's what public expectations are. And the Minister was in no doubt yesterday at her press conference that she had failed public expectations. Now, if she realised that yesterday, she would have realised that a week ago when she organised this jolly up in the Hunter Valley, where she organised not just a ministerial car, but a van, an 8-seater van, to ferry Rose Jackson herself, their spouses and their friends to a boozy 3-hour lunch in the Hunter Valley.
Yeah, it was premeditated, and obviously someone's leaked these, because often we don't find out about these things until months later when we see, you know, the documents that need to be, or the register of interest that needs to be updated. So someone's leaked here. So someone behind the scenes is not very happy about it either. Do you suspect you know who that is? No, I've got no idea who it is, but it was apparently a leak to the Sunday Telegraph. But the important point here is that had this not been leaked, had this not come to light, Jo Haylen would never have done anything about it. This was covered up. This was covered up, and often the cover-up is as bad as the crime. So it's an affront to the taxpayer. We've got a cost of living crisis. We've got a mental health crisis. Psychiatrists are leaving the mental health system en masse. We've had industrial chaos in our public transport system, and yet at the same time,
you've got two ministers with little real-life experience, have been basically working in politics all their lives, don't understand what it's like in the real world, and have this jolly at taxpayer expense.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this morning.